I'm Michael Gross, host of the B&O Railroad Museum's television network. The caboose, probably the most famous part of a train. This caboose, the C-1775, located in the roundhouse of the B&O Railroad Museum, is the oldest caboose in the B&O's collection. This wooden four-wheeled rail car was a classic little red caboose, representing the widely used bobber cabooses that were in operation from the 1870s through the Great Depression. So called for the bumpy and sometimes unstable riding conditions, these bobbers served as a business office, rear-end lookout, and home for the freight train conductor and crew during their trips. The cupola window at the top allowed better visibility for the crew. Some B&O bobbers were built at the Montclair shops, while others were created at smaller shops affiliated with the B&O. The Buffalo and Susquehanna Railroad, the B&S, a coal and lumber line located in western Pennsylvania, built the C-1775 in 1907. It received a new owner when the B&O took over the B&S in 1931. In 1953, it was retired from service and restored for display in the newly opened B&O Railroad Museum. It is presently on display in the museum's roundhouse as the only surviving B&O caboose of its type.
We're sitting inside the C-2220 caboose, which is an I-5D caboose that the B&O Railroad built at its Washington, Indiana shops. The I-5D caboose has a concrete floor, which was put in to allow for this caboose to be pushed from behind by a helper locomotive, and the concrete floor kept the locomotive from being crushed between the pusher and the rest of the freight train's weight. The caboose was basically a small living quarters or a small office for the freight crew. There was a variety of things within the caboose that was for the comfort and use of the crew. Here we have the area where the crew sat to look out the windows, to keep an eye on the train to make sure that there weren't any problems with the train itself. And underneath of here we had a few cabinets that you can look into. For the visitors that come, we have the bathroom facilities, rather primitive, but certainly something that was usable for the time. And further down, we have where some of the tools were stored. The crew on board were always ready for anything that was required of them related to the train. So any kind of shovels or picks they may need to help out with any kind of track work or problems with the train. Further down into here, we have the area that could be used as a sleeping quarters. We have two small bed areas for the crew to sleep in. Down on this end of the caboose, we have basically the kitchen and office area. As you can see, we have a stove here for the warmth and cooking purposes. We have a box here to hold the coal for that stove. We have a sink for washing up, for getting water for drinking. We also have what could double as both a dining room table and a desk space for the conductor and crew to fill out any forms or paperwork that they need to complete. And an area for them to separate all of their paperwork and office tools.
The B&O number C-2222 is approximately 33 feet long and almost 10 feet wide. It is constructed of wood, steel, and concrete and weighs 62,700 pounds. It was originally built as a wooden I-5 type caboose with steel ends at the B&O shops in Washington, Indiana in 1929. It was one of 272 Class I-5 cabooses built between 1924 and 1929 at the B&O shops in both Montclair and Washington, Indiana. Beginning in 1940, it was rebuilt with the addition of a concrete floor and an increased wheelbase length of 4 feet. When a helper locomotive was necessary to push a heavy freight train up a steep grade, the helper would be coupled behind the caboose. The concrete floor kept the caboose from derailing or being crushed between the weight of the train in front and the pusher engine in the rear. On December 6, 1830, the B&O Railroad was the first railroad to be authorized to go into what city?
Until we can move a ton of goods using no fuel, we've got the next best thing. CSX trains can move a ton of goods 436 miles on 1 gallon of fuel. CSX, how tomorrow moves.
On December 6, 1830, the B&O Railroad was the first railroad to be authorized to go into Washington, D.C. Today, visitors of the B&O Railroad Museum can experience what it was like to live and work on these cabooses. This is Michael Gross. Thanks for watching the B&O Railroad Museum Television Network.
Coming up, events at the B&O Railroad Museum and Ellicott City Station. Proudly sponsored by Amtrak. Holiday Festival of Trains in Baltimore from November the 27th through January the 10th. Weekend train rides with Santa and Frosty the Snowman. Don't miss Baltimore's largest display of toy and model trains. Holiday Festival of Trains at Ellicott City Station from November the 27th through January the 31st. Visit Ellicott City Station and see more toy and model trains featuring Thomas the Tank Engine in miniature. All aboard for Day Out with Thomas at the B&O Railroad Museum in Baltimore, April 23rd through the 25th and April 30th through May 2nd. Tickets on sale to B&O members January the 2nd. Drop by the museum store and purchase a membership today.